Okay, let's get started with the conditions for God's people, which are brought about by false prophets and their false teachings. One of the main teachings, the main line teachings that they produce is a life of willful sin is under God's grace. This is what false prophets have taught throughout every generation, throughout all time, from the beginning to the end. There is nothing new about this idea. All false prophets have taught in some way. They've tried to squeeze in the idea that a life of willful sin is under God's grace. Also, a start over allowance is made. Either you make a sacrifice or you do something, or like with the Hebrew Christians, they felt that they could fall away and then just start all over. And they were reproved and told that it is impossible to be renewed unto repentance once you have crucified Christ. And even in our day and time, many Christians might fall away, and then when they come back and they return and get serious, oftentimes they are told that you weren't a Christian in the first place and you have a clean slate. So you see this same reoccurring theme throughout every generation and throughout all time reoccurring again. This same other idea, no mass collective punishment from God uh, upon God's people. This is a reoccurring theme throughout all of time, from Noah's time, throughout Israel and the Jews, and even into the Christian age and up until today. Um, False prophets are very weak on admonishment teaching. Admonishment teachings are a warning of God's impending condemnation upon his people for continued sin and willful sin and disobedience. Of course, quite naturally, if you're teaching people that a life of willful sin is under grace, then quite naturally there's no need for admonishment teachings. And that's why oftentimes you don't hear very much admonishment teaching. Everything is encouraging. All condemnation is for somebody else. It's for non-believers, or believers are exempt from all condemnation or punishment of God or judgment. No one is expelled for practicing sin. This is often a reoccurring theme throughout every generation. Members live in sin. Often Israelites lived in idolatry. Jesus said, you'll know the false prophets by their fruit. Look into the lives of the people and how they actually live in a particular congregation, and you'll know exactly whether you have a false prophet or true prophet. You may consider that these things don't apply to you, so I've created an example using salvation. So we'll look at salvation.